Bishop, it's just there's so much that I could say. There, in one sense, I sense that we're on the verge of something phenomenal in the body of Christ, because I also see a consolidation going on in the body of Christ. I'm seeing large movements of churches who had 2 and 3 services now being consolidated into one. I'm seeing an exodus from the church. I'm seeing the seniors who were once the foundations of the church. They're not leaving God, but they're leaving the church. I'm looking at the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, and for the last 10 years I've been concerned because I've observed that if we don't retool how we do ministry, we'll have great services, great preaching. There was a time you could build your church off of good music and good preaching. But nowadays, not only do you have to deal with other ministries, which we're not in competition with, but you have to deal with a changing culture. How do we preach to a culture that really has no interest in God? They don't believe what we say. Great preaching. We've heard great preaching, but there's been this turnoff to what we're saying. Yet we're within our churches. We're preaching. We're having good worship. We're having good word, but we're not impacting our communities. So here's the question I begin to ask myself. Maybe it never was. What did he say in Hebrews? God, who in sundry time and in divers manners spoke to the prophets, spoke to the fathers by the prophets, have now spoken to us through his Son. What is the Son saying, and what did the Son do? What the Son did was he never sought to bring people to a place. He took them to a place in ministry, but he never sought to amass a crowd. Maybe that was never our assignment, because maybe it never was that I'm judged by how many people sit in my pew.
Wow.
Maybe we're to be the salt and light to the world without regard to how many people sit in the pew where I pastor. I remember going into the service one day, and I remember being disturbed because I was uncomfortable with the number of people that were there.
Wow.
And the Spirit said to me, is the number your God, or am I your God?
My God.
So what happens is we create an insecurity in the body of Christ because we're comparing ourselves to one another based on the number of people that are in our pews, and our members are saying no to that. And they vote by their feet. So they're leaving the church. Not only that, but we must deal with the culture. There's a cultural shift that's going on. There's a shift going on in our economics.
Yes.
There's a shift away from brick and mortar.
Yes.
You see what Amazon is doing. Nordstrom is consolidating. You see consolidation going on. And yet we're building buildings without building ministry. Maybe, Bishop, it's about being the church and not doing church.
Wow.
Maybe the path that we've been on and trying to judge ourselves by one another, we create an insecurity, and we have a number of insecure leaders. I remember you were talking just a moment ago in an earlier segment, and you're talking about this whole notion of forgiveness, and you go to the altar, you remember your brother has an altar against you, you leave your gift, and you go be reconciled. How much, to what degree do we need reconciliation at the presidium of the body of Christ? Maybe as we begin to make that shifting, and it's not about me passing out a business card. I'm here today because of a relationship.
Yeah.
Folks out there don't know me.
Yeah.
But I'm here because of a relationship. And so maybe God is shifting us, and he's bringing the church back to a fundamental place. Maybe we need to look at the community in which we serve.
What I heard the whole time you were talking, and I might be out in left field. Hopefully it's not. I don't think it is. But what I heard the whole time you were speaking is the clapping of the hoofs of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You talked about the shift in the economy, a measure of wheat for a penny. You talked about the shift in sicknesses and a pale horse, that sickness was on the earth. You talked about false doctrine, how people are leaving. And we haven't had enough time to stop and allow the apostolic voices to speak.
Absolutely.
And I'm so happy tonight, because when that woman was sitting here a few minutes ago, how she spoke prophetically, and I wouldn't allow her evangelistical part to come up out of her.
Yeah.
because I didn't want people to miss that.
Yeah.
But I'm not hearing Bishop tonight. I'm hearing Apostle tonight.
Bishop, can I say this?
Yes.
How is it that Jesus only really pastored 12? And yet, it boggles my mind that we have command of thousands of people. And what I want to suggest to us to give thought to is maybe that was not our mandate. Maybe we were to be the salt. As we see, the city in which you pastor doesn't have vision. It is the pastor that God raises up to ascertain what are the needs in that community. What are the challenges that that community faces? And how can I facilitate the need in that community? Maybe that's what we were to do. And then as we facilitate that, you may not have a mega ministry, but if you have a mega outreach, you'll have a mega ministry.
Yeah, you know, I'm blessed again tonight.